Angeles comes the story of today, the big news. The most complete news report by the most distinguished team of reporters in Los Angeles television.
Good evening, Jerry Dunphy with tonight's big news.
From man's new frontier, the limitless reaches of space, from the world we live in, from the United States of America, from Los Angeles, comes the story of today, the big news.
The big news. There was nothing like it anywhere.
Good evening, Jerry Dunphy, and tonight's big news in color.
KNXT Channel 2. $11 report, a complete summary of the day's news in color with Jake Jacobs standing in for Clete Roberts and Stan Duke with sports. Now, Jake Jacobs.
Good evening. $11 report, a summary of the day's events, with Carl George substituting for Clete Roberts, Mario Machado with sports, and followed by the CBS Sunday News with Dan Ruther from New York. Now, here's Carl George.
Good evening.
Southern California's most complete news coverage is next.
The big win that wasn't. Bill Keane talks about the hurricane that got away. A big haul off Catalina Island. Pot, not fish. I'll have that film story. The quality of judging becomes a major issue in the Olympic Games. Gil Stratton has the latest on that. Chicago, Chicago, wonderful town. But what about the rock group of the same name? Dave Sheehan, listen to him.
This is the big news of Wednesday, August 30th. A complete report of the day's events by the most distinguished team of reporters in Western television. Once again, Jerry Dunphy.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. If you were battered by Tropical Storm Gwen last night, if you were swept by its wind and pelted by the torrential downpour, you were having a pretty good-sized nightmare, that's what. Bill Keane's back with us to explain that dream storm.
This is the big news for Saturday, May 26th, with Clete Roberts.
Los Angeles City Councilman Joel Wax has...
This is the $11 report with Clete Roberts.
He and Councilman Tom Bradley faced each other in the third and final of their series of televised debates tonight.
T Channel 2.
This is KNXT's Newsroom. I'm Joseph Benty, and this is tonight's news. Any Los Angeles voters tonight who are shaking their heads, wondering if somehow they've been caught in a time warp, are not wrong. Much of what they heard from City Hall today had that familiar ring of 1969, and Warren Olney can explain why. Warren?
Joe, just 4 years ago, Sam Yorty was condemning Tom Bradley by association and warning of what he called radical takeover should Bradley be elected.
KNXT Channel 2, Los Angeles.
Good evening. Welcome to Channel 2's Newsroom. There is sadness throughout the nation tonight over the fatal shooting of Mrs. Alberta King. She was the 70-year-old mother of slain civil rights leader Martin Luther King, Jr. Mrs. King was shot by a black gunman as she played the organ during morning services at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. The gunman, identified as 21-year-old Marcus Chenault of Dayton, Ohio, emptied 2 pistols into the choir.
From Channel 2, it's Newsroom with Connie Chung and Joseph Benty.
Good evening. Joseph Benty is on vacation. President Carter has decided to make an unexpected and dramatic change in his economic recovery proposal.
This is the Channel 2 News at 11 with Connie Chung and Joseph Benty. Brent Musburger has sports, Steve Edwards the weather, and a special report from Linda Douglas.
Good evening, everyone. The strike by grocery clerks against 11 supermarket chains will take a major turn tomorrow.
California. This is the Channel 2 News with Connie Chung, Joseph Benty, Jim Hill, David Sheehan, and Maclovio Perez.
Good evening, everyone. The question facing Iran tonight is just how much control does the Ayatollah Khomeini have over those who say they follow him?
Channel 2, Southern California. This is the Channel 2 News Update. The very latest news with Marcia Brandwin, Connie Chung, Jim Hill, Maclovio Perez, Kim Mariner, and Pat O'Brien.
Hello, everybody. Violence out in Venice tonight as a fireman...
Marcia Brandwin, Ralph Story, Jim Hill, Maclovio Perez. The Channel 2 News live at 5.
Jess Marlowe, John Schubeck, Jim Hill, Maclovio Perez, and Bill Stout's Perspective. The Channel 2 News at 6.
Good evening and welcome. With every
Connie Chung, Jess Marlowe, Jim Hill, Maclovio Perez, and Bill Stout's Perspective. The Channel 2 News at 6.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel 2 News at 6. There is an invisible killer in the Los Angeles area tonight and 5 people are dead.
Connie Chung, Jess Marlowe, Jim Hill, Maclovio Perez, and reporters Terry Murphy and Ross Becker. The Channel 2 News tonight. Jess Marlowe, Connie Chung, Jim Hill, Maclovio Perez. The Channel 2 News update at 11.
Good evening. Terry Murphy and Roy Firestone. The Channel 2 Weekend News.
Good evening, everyone. At the top of our news, a small plane that took off from Chino this afternoon crashed in Riverside County, killing its pilot.
This is Channel 2 News with Sandy Hill, Jess Marlowe, weather with Maclovio Perez, and Jim Hill on sports. From Los Angeles, this is Channel 2 News Tonight.
This is Channel 2 News with Tricia Toyota, John Schubeck, weather with Kevin O'Connell, and Jim Hill on sports. From Los Angeles, this is Channel 2 News Tonight. This is Channel 2 News. From Los Angeles, this is Channel 2 News Weekend Report.
Good evening, I'm Chris Blatchford.
And I'm Ann Curry.
The award-winning Channel 2 News at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Channel 2 News at 4 o'clock. I'm Valerie Coleman.
Good evening, everybody. We're live at 5 in Los Angeles, and I'm John Schubeck.
Good afternoon, and thanks for being with us today. I'm Steve Kometko.
And I'm Tricia Toyota. This is the 5 o'clock news in Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us. I'm Paula Zahn.
I'm Dan Miller, and this is the Channel.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Paula Zahn.
Good evening. The Angels and their fans are in heaven tonight. Good evening. Tonight, more than 100 bus drivers are off the road in a new safety crackdown at the RTD. Good evening, everybody. The results are coming in now from today's local.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel 2 News. I'm Penny Griego.
And I'm Warren Olney.
From Kcbs-Tv, Los Angeles. And now, from KCBS Television in Los Angeles, Southern California's most honored news broadcast. This is Channel 2 Action News at noon.
To live or die in L.A., the 1988 baseball season has come down to one game playoff. That's it, the game between the Mets and the Dodgers. The winner goes to the World Series.
And now, from KCBS Television in Los Angeles, Southern California's most honored news broadcast. This is Channel 2 Action News at 5.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tricia Toyota.
And I'm Jim Lampley.
And now, from KCBS Television in Los Angeles, Southern California's most honored news broadcast. This is Channel 2 Action News at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Valerie Coleman.
I'm Chris Canangla. Here's what's happening at the top of our news tonight.
And now, from KCBS Television in Los Angeles, Southern California's most honored news broadcast. This is Channel 2 Action News at 11.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John Schubeck.
And I'm Tricia Toyota. Our top story tonight at 11 o'clock, win, lose, or draw. Experts are still deciding.
And now, from KCBS Television in Los Angeles, Southern California's most honored news broadcast. This is Channel 2 Action News Sunday Report.
Good evening and welcome to Channel 2 Action News. Warren Olney has the night off. I'm Penny Griego.
Good evening, I'm Bree Walker.
And I'm Jim Lampley, and this is Action News at 5 o'clock.
Our top story tonight. The threat of civil war appears to have diminished slightly in Beijing at this hour. Late reports out of the capital city say the 38th Army is helping to resupply its rivals camped out in Tiananmen Square.
Yes. Action News with Jim Lampley, Bree Walker, Steve Rambo Weather, and Keith Olbermann Sports. The Channel 2 Action News at 11.
Good evening. Campaign 90 is a whole new ball game tonight.
And good evening, everyone. Our top story tonight.
Good morning, Southern California. This is Channel 2 Action News with Chris Canagla, Terry Anser, traffic and weather, and Jerry Laird's business reports. Channel 2 Action News AM.
Good morning once again.
This is Channel 2 Action News with the latest news, weather, and sports. Channel 2 Action News Nightcast.
Good evening, everyone. Here's what's happening tonight.
11 o'clock Southern California. This is Channel 2 Action News with Bree Walker, Jim Lampley, Steve Rambo Weather, and Keith Olbermann Sports. Channel 2 Action News Nightcast.
Good evening. Here's what's happening.
You're watching Kcbs-Tv Channel 2 Los Angeles. Now, Bree Walker, Michael Tuck, Steve Rambo Weather, Jim Hill Sports, and Chopper 2. Channel 2 Action News Nightcast.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks very much for joining us tonight. Here's
This is Action News for all of Southern California with Terry Anser and Bill Keane. Now, Channel 2 Action News AM.
Good morning, everyone. It is 6 a.m. Wednesday, May 19th. I'm Terry Anser, and here are the morning headlines.
This is Action News for all of Southern California with Tricia Toyota and Chris Canagla. Now, Channel 2 Action News live at 5.
This is Action News for all of Southern California with Bree Walker and Michael Tuck. Now, the 6 o'clock Channel 2 Action News.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks very much for joining us tonight. Here's what's happening. A little girl.
This is Action News for all of Southern California with Bree Walker and Michael Tuck. Now, Channel 2 Action News Nightcast.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
This is Action News for all of Southern California with Bree Walker and Michael Tuck. Now, Channel 2 Action News Nightcast.
This is KCBS LA. Linda Alvarez and Brad Good bring you Action News this morning.
And good morning. It's 6 a.m. Monday, May the 9th. I'm Pat Alamed for Linda Alvarez.
And I'm Brad Good. Thanks for joining us this early Monday morning.
This is KCBS LA. Tricia Toyota, Linda Alvarez, and Maclovio Perez bring you Action News at noon.
Former LAPD Chief Daryl Gates and 4 others are dropped as defendants in the Rodney King civil suit. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brad Good.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Linda Alvarez.
This is KCBS LA. Michael Tuck, Bree Walker, Steve Rambo, and Jim Hill bring you Action News at 6.
Did your child?
This is KCBS LA. Jose Sanders, Penny Griego, Dennis Phillips, and Rory Marcus bring you Action News at 6.
A young mother trying to get help for her sick baby faces terror on this Mother's Day.
Action News at 5 begins right now. This is Action News at 5 with Michael Tuck and Ann Martin.
Good evening.
Action News continues with Ann Martin and Michael Tuck.
Our top story at Action News at 5:30, a young teacher shot in the head.
This is Action News at 11 with Ann Martin and Michael Tuck.
Good evening, everybody.
This is Channel 2 News at 5 with Larry Carroll and Linda Alvarez.
Now.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News this morning.
Good morning, everybody. It is 5:58. I'm Paul Dent.
You're watching CBS 2 News this morning with Tricia Toyota, Paul Dandridge, and featuring the U-Team with useful information. CBS 2 News this morning. You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at noon.
Our top story at noon, he was in
our next segment.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News with Tricia Toyota, Paul Dandridge, and Lance Orozco with weather. CBS 2 News. More balance, more special assignments, more to come. You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at 5.
It was a shocking crime in broad daylight. A woman stabbed to death outside a local shopping mall in what looks like a carjacking. Good evening. It's 5 o'clock. I'm Ann Martin.
I'm Harold Green. We welcome you at 5 o'clock, and here's our top story. The suspect now behind bars after a gruesome stabbing outside a Redondo Beach mall.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at 5:30.
Police in Northridge are on the manhunt tonight for this man, an accused sexual predator still on the loose. Good evening, everyone. I'm Juan Fernandez, in Today for Harold Green.
I'm Laura Diaz. Here's the latest at 5:30.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at 6.
Hello, I'm Jane Velez Mitchell.
I'm Jonathan Elias. Gretchen Carr has the evening off. We begin this evening with the start of a Holy Weekend. It is coming up.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at 6.
It's a sunny, beautiful day outside.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News with Gretchen Carr, Jonathan Elias, and Tony Williams with weather. CBS 2 News. More balance, more special assignments, more to come. You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News with Ann Martin, Michael Tuck, Steve Rambo with weather, and Jim Hill on sports. CBS 2 News. More balance, more special assignments, more to come. You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at 6:30.
Good evening once again. I'm Jonathan Elias.
And I'm Gretchen Carr. Thanks for joining.
Starts right now.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at 11.
We're hit with hail, funnel clouds, lightning, and more.
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News at 11.
Sheriff's deputies inspect a car parked in the Athens area and find the body of a 3-year-old encased in concrete. Good evening. There are lots of questions surrounding this discovery. Who is the tiny victim, and who would commit such an unthinkable crime?
You're watching Southern California's CBS 2 News with Ann Martin, Michael Tuck, Steve Rambo with weather, and Jim Hill on sports. CBS 2 News. More balance, more special assignments, more to come. You're watching Ann Martin and Harold Green on CBS 2 News, the station of the people.
Now, CBS 2 News at 11 a.m. Now, Ken Shocknick and Ann Martin. You're watching CBS 2 News at 11 a.m.
In the inland.
Now, CBS 2 News at 4.
And get her out of it. The news starts right now. Paul Majors, Laura Diaz, Byron Miranda with weather, and Jim Hill on sports. You're watching CBS 2 News at 11.
It was a deadly scene when a man slammed into the Santa Monica Farmers Market last July. Tonight, that driver faces multiple homicide charges. Good evening, I'm Paul Majors.
And I'm Laura Diaz. Here is the latest at 11.
CBS 2 Los Angeles. Ken Shockneck, Sandra Mitchell, and Henry DiCarlo with weather. You're watching CBS 2 News at 11 a.m.
Police in Beverly Hills this morning are searching for...
From CBS 2 Los Angeles, Paul Majors, Laura Diaz, and Johnny Mountain with weather. You're watching CBS 2 News at 5. This is CBS 2 News at 6. From CBS 2 Los Angeles, Harold Green, Ann Martin, Johnny Mountain with weather, and Jim Hill sports. You're watching CBS 2 News at 6. This is CBS 2 News at 11. From CBS 2 Los Angeles, Laura Diaz, Paul Majors, Johnny Mountain with weather, and Jim Hill sports. LA's #1 late newscast. This is CBS 2 News at 11. In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 5 a.m. From CBS 2 Los Angeles, Kent Shockneck, Suzanne Rico, Henry DiCarlo with 2 View Weather, and Vera Jimenez with Time Saver Traffic. You're watching CBS 2 News at 6 a.m. in high definition. In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 5. Now, in high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 6.
Good evening and welcome.
From CBS 2 Los Angeles, Harold Green, Ann Martin, Johnny Mountain with 2 View Weather, and Jim Hill sports. You're watching CBS 2 News at 6 in high definition. In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 11 a.m.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CBS 2 News at 11 a.m. I'm Suzanne Rico. Kent has the morning off.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 5.
Now at 5, a victim speaks out following...
From CBS 2 Los Angeles, Paul Majors, Laura Diaz, and Johnny Mountain with 2 View Weather. You're watching CBS 2 News at 5 in high definition.
As Americans do their best to try and ride out the recession, some...
From CBS 2 Los Angeles, Paul Majors, Laura Diaz, Johnny Mountain with 2 View Weather, and Jim Hill sports. You're watching CBS 2 News at 11 in high definition.
Top Wells Fargo workers will...
Covering the stories that hit home. This is CBS 2 News Central at 5.
News Central to Harbor Gate.
Covering all of Southern California. This is CBS 2 News Central at 11.
News Central to Temecula. Homes burn in a wildfire. Harbor Gateway, a woman gunned down. Boyle Heights, a police grand opening. Those are just 3 of the stories central to your lives tonight. Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Tay.
And I'm Glenn Walker. We begin tonight with breaking news. A destructive wildfire.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 5.
Now at 5 more.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 5 a.m.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 6 a.m.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 6 a.m.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 11 a.m.
Our top story is breaking news.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 5.
Now, in high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 5 p.m.
In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 6. In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 11.
Kobe, baseline. In high definition, this is CBS 2 News at 11 p.m. Live from from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 4:30 a.m. Coverage you can count on. Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 5 a.m. Coverage you can count on. Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 6 a.m. Coverage you can count on. Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 11 a.m. Coverage you can count on. Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 5 p.m. Coverage you can count on. Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 6 p.m. Coverage you can count on. Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 11 p.m. Coverage you can count on. Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News this morning at 4:30.
So we can go into the 21st century when we go for hope, rehabilitation.
I cannot be bought off. I will enforce the law. I have enforced the law.
It was a heated virtual debate. The LA County District Attorney's race. Jackie Lacey facing off with challenger George Gascon.
Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News this morning at 5.
And a very good morning to you and happy Monday. It is November 23rd. Welcome to CBS 2 News this morning at 5. I'm DeMarco Morgan.
Good morning. I'm Suzanne Marquez. Hope you have...
Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News this morning at 6.
All right, happy Monday, everybody. It is April 13th. Welcome to CBS 2 News this morning at 6 and streaming on CBS in Los Angeles. I'm DeMarco Morgan.
Happy Monday. I'm Suzanne Marquez. There's a lot happening in your world today. Let's take a look at your SoCal eye-opener. President Trump's hope to reopen the nation by Easter has passed.
Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 5 p.m.
And now on CBS 2 News at 5 and streaming on CBSN Los Angeles.
Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 6 p.m.
Now at 6, how is he still alive? A donut shop worker somehow survives a shot fired at his head at point-blank range.
CBS 2 Orange County reporter Michelle Gili is live.
Live from the CBS Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is CBS 2 News at 11 p.m.
I told her the truth will set you free.
Only on CBS 2 and streaming on CBSN Los Angeles. An exclusive interview, new details in an alleged Las Vegas kidnapping and assault case with a Southern California connection. Well, the Las Vegas woman says she was kidnapped and raped by a man and his daughter, then left for dead.
Tonight, a family member of the suspects says that story is made up. CBS 2's Jeff Nguyen live at the sheriff's office in Palmdale with the interview. Jeff?
And investigators here have been working with the FBI as well.
Breaking news right now on CBS 2 News at 11 p.m.
That breaking news, the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines has arrived in Los Angeles.
Channel 2, Southern California.